Thank you for tuning into Boxcar Arts. I'm Jesse Britton, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to be explaining my process for color packing. All right, let's get into the process of tattooing this Sailor Jerry rose. Up in the upper left-hand corner, I've got the original rose, and I'm going to put my own spin on it by adding just a little bit more black to it than what is in the original design. I feel like a little bit more black in a traditional tattoo makes it stand out, and it accentuates the color. Usually there's so much potent color in an American traditional tattoo that a little bit extra black doesn't hurt. For this demonstration, I'm using my Critical Torque 4.2 millimeter stroke pen machine and dynamic black. I'm also using a Bishop Curve 17 Magnum. Here, being really careful to tattoo just up to the line, and there's a couple different ways I like to do that. The first way, as you saw, is I start with the needle in a crevice like that, and since it's a kind of a flat shape, I can kind of use it to edge my way away from the line, using tight circles, going no deeper than the sideways width of a nickel. I make those tight little ovals and ensure that I'm overlapping them in a machine-like fashion. Once I get up to the edge there of the already tattooed black, I'll do a little bit of what's called pepper shading or whip shading, where I'm just kind of taking in the needles and raking them out from the black that's already been done. So if this was a person, an actual client, and not pound of flesh, fake skin, I would say stretch the skin a little bit more with a nice 3-point stretch, using 2 fingers of your non-tattooing hand to pull the skin taut, and the palm of your tattooing hand to kind of stretch in a triangular 3-point way to get that nice tight stretch. But the good thing about the fake skin is that you get pretty much that stretch just automatically. Fake skin is super taut, and so you don't really have to do that. So it's great for making these videos so you can really see what the machine is doing. So I like to keep the machine angled when I'm color packing and make sure that I soak up a lot of ink so that there's plenty of ink in the reservoir tip of the needles and the cartridge, into kind of basically just create a nice little puddle like you see there. Again, I'm edging in the black, and as you can see, I missed a little spot, so I'm going to go back and zing that, and then angle the machine again along the edge of the line. So it's really important to keep your machine angled along the edge of the line. Another thing about color packing is that you always want to start with the darkest color first. That way, if you tattoo a lighter color first, you would end up wiping some of the darker color over the lighter color and staining the lighter color. It's a mistake I used to make when I first started tattooing. So as you can see, that's what we did. We're now onto the green, and we're moving right up to the black and creating the green color. Again, moving in tight little circles, machine-like circles, going right up to the edge of the line, and making sure to overlap all those circles. Sometimes it's okay to kind of rake the machine back and forth across the area that you just tattooed in those tight little circles, but I never recommend going over an already packed color area twice. I don't think that's a good idea. It's never worked for me. What that can end up doing is really scarring the skin. However, you can go back in and kind of create like a very quick cross hatch with the color. So let's say you pack, and you're done, and you see it's just not super packed. It's okay to just use the very, very tip of the needles to go back in and just kind of glide over the skin in one diagonal direction and do it again in the other diagonal direction. I've also found on this fake skin that if you use just whatever kind of ointment or glide that you like to use, it could be A&D, it could be Inkies, it could be whatever, But if you're using an ointment, that ointment will pretty much take all of the ink off of the fake skin. Like, you don't need all this crazy alcohol and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't hurt, but really just slathering on some of that Glide and wiping that off with your paper towel will take the ink right off of the practice skin. So one thing to know is that you can get really accustomed to packing black first before you move on to color, but it's really all the same kind of thing unless you're blending color, and I'll make another video about that. Right now we're just packing solid color and doing just very minimal blending, which is one of the reasons why it's really good to start tattooing basic, simple American traditional designs, like this rose. This is a great starter color tattoo, Again, just making sure that I have a slight angle to my machine, that I'm feeling a good connection with the skin. You can feel like a resistance from the skin too when you're tattooing. You'll come to understand that resistance is, like one of the feedback methods for you to understand what your perfect depth. So when I'm tattooing, I'll feel the skin, I'll feel the vibration, I'll hear a certain sound, that I know is that sound that I've heard before and seen that the tattoos come back healed perfectly. I'll say, okay, well, that's how I tattooed it last time. And then there's the sound, and then there's just a vibration that you get as well. So here you can see a little bit of that black kind of showing through on the in the red, which is really a cool effect that you can get with the traditional tattoo. And it doesn't really scab the skin up too bad, just to have a little bit of that pepper and to go kind of pack right over that pepper. Again, another reason why the American traditional tattoo can be such a great starter tattoo. Actually, I'm using Fusion Really Red. I'm using, for the green, I used Eternal Lime Green. I'm using the Eternal Bumblebee Yellow and the Eternal White Knight. And I'm also going to use the Eternal Orange. So those are the colors that I used. And here I actually dipped a little bit of the yellow into the yellow first, got some yellow, and just barely dipped the machine into the green to get this green color. So yeah, I like to live on the edge. I'll actually dip colors like that. But I also know not to stick the whole needle into the color to do it that way. I'll just kind of get a little dip of the yellow and then just run the machine and just kind of soak up just a little bit of green. Here we go. I'm going to show you. Yep, I'm a jerk, and that's how I like to do that. And believe it or not, you can actually, if you're really, really careful, you can sneak in on the other edge of that yellow and use that yellow, which I'll do. When I rinse the machines, when I rinse the needle out, I like to rinse it either, I'll have like a cup of water, or, if I'm like at a convention or something and I just want to kind of, I want to not have a bunch of water sitting around for somebody to knock over, I'll use my green soap bottle and spray that into the open reservoir area of the cartridge. There we go. That's my little move. And I'll just kind of stick a paper towel underneath and rinse it out that way, making sure not to really let the stream of the green soap soak back up into the bottle, because that, I don't know if that would actually contaminate anything, but I really don't ever want to find that out, So here we go. We got some orange. This is another little color trick that I'm going to use. I'm going to actually just pack the orange in there, even though that's not really part of the original design. I like to kind of brighten up my traditional just a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to mix some brown here in just a second too. But again, you can see I'm using the mag to kind of get real close to the edge, and using, as long as you're using those tight overlapping circles, and you get a feel for that, you can pretty much feel confident that you're scooting along at just the right pace, with our depth and our voltage and our hand speed all kind of aligning. So you can see, you've seen my hand speed for this whole video. I'm not really scooting along too fast. I'm taking my time. And you know, with each different color, sometimes you can get a different like viscosity. Like here you see the white is looking pretty liquidy. Even though I shook the bottle, sometimes you know, if your color inks are sitting around too long, what can happen is the pigment will settle to the bottom, especially if you haven't shook it up in a while. So I always recommend super shaking your colors before you pour them, and that'll ensure that you don't have like a you know, want your circles to be too big or spaced out or far apart. You could leave gaps, and that'll lead to like a patchy healing. You don't want to turn your machine up too high, especially when you're packing color, because that can cause scarring. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Remember, just slow down, tighten your circles, go over the area, you know, in a steady pace, and you'll do great. I really appreciate you checking me out. Like and subscribe. I've got more videos coming. Thanks, guys.